Welcome to the show, everyone. Today's guest is Anthony Trucks. At the age of 3 years old, Anthony was abandoned by his biological mother and placed into the foster care system. For much of his childhood, Anthony felt adrift, unworthy, and listless, living in survival mode, just trying to make it to the next day, week, and year in one piece. He faced tremendous abuse at the hands of his foster parents. At the age of 14, Anthony was adopted, and he began to apply himself. He saw a pattern of being good at setting a goal, overcoming a wall, and finally achieving the goal. Anthony began to derive great satisfaction from his ability to grind it out until he achieved his set goals. In high school, he set the audacious goal of making his varsity football team with very few skills. And by his senior year, not only had he achieved the goal of making the team, he was offered a full-ride scholarship to the University of Oregon. Anthony went on to achieve the ultimate goal of reaching the NFL, making the Pittsburgh Steelers roster. At 25, he had a beautiful wife, a son, and a bright future ahead. Or so he thought. Due to a fluke shoulder injury, Anthony never played an NFL down. He faced unknowing distress. I'm excited to have Anthony on the show today to share how he shifted his life's vision and is helping and inspiring others as a peak performance coach, author, and speaker. And with that, Anthony Trucks, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me, man. I appreciate the amazing little intro there. It's cool.
Man,
It's always yourself, right? Hear about yourself. I'm like, oh, that is me. It's kind of crazy.
man, as we were saying before hitting record, this is one that got my temperature up a little bit. So I've been wanting to have you on my show for a long time. I'm a huge fan of yours. We'll get into it, but for those that don't know Anthony yet, check out his Instagram. He's got a very, very vibrant page. And one thing that's great about Anthony, one of many things, he's real active in responding. So I'll say things in his, I don't know, I'm an older guy, right? But I guess the DM thing, right? So responding to DMs or putting comments or notes, and Anthony from the beginning has responded to me, and so probably like he does most people that put comments out there. So I don't think I'm anything special there. So I would say check out his page because he's got great, vibrant family stuff that he's putting out there. And as you'll hear, he's an incredible speaker and he's on some massive stages. So really, really excited to have you on the show, brother, and looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm a human. I think at the end of the day, there's a space between, like, there's some people that are they're like a big name and they want to be separate from the people, but I actually enjoy humanity. That's why I chose to do a career. Not to say these people don't. I'm not knocking anybody else. At a certain point, it does get to be very busy, but I have some good systems that allow me to still be present because I find that I love helping people and I think people actually want to interact with me. So I try to be present where I can. But there are definitely spaces where there's too much time taken apart. But
yeah, I get it. You got a lot going on. And that's, one thing that I admire is the fact that you do have a lot going on in terms of professionally. It appears that you're stretched in a lot of directions, and yet you seem to be super dialed into your family and being a dad and being a husband and paying attention to what I consider to be sort of the most important things, which is, taking care of your people and your family and God and being forward with your faith life too. And so that's, I love it. But let's talk about childhood, man. Let's talk about some of those rough times. What was it like growing up? I talk a bit about the foster care system and what that early phase of your life was like.
It sucked. It's kind of the nature of foster care. You're given away into a system that wasn't designed to take care of you. Sounds weird, but it's designed to make you not die. So people take care of you, but they're getting a paycheck for doing it. So as long as you get, don't die and they get a paycheck, everything works. And so I was around, early in the years when there was no social media, there was no communication. And so there wasn't a way to prove what was going on, but I had some pretty heinous things take place. And the crazy part is I don't hate that it happened, right? I understand that it happened. I wouldn't wish it to not have happened, which is an interesting part of it too, because most people go, well, it's a horrible childhood. You were beaten and you were starved and you were tortured and weird stuff. And I go, yeah, but a smooth sea never made skilled sailors. And so for me, I look at life and I go, well, I don't like it. I appreciate it. It gave me a sense of understanding earlier on. Now, I did have to work through a lot of personal barriers and not trusting people and this desire to have retribution on the world. But once I got through that, man, I was able to take the intangibles I garnered, not just from that youth of a childhood, but also from sports. And it turned me into an interesting human in a sense of I have a work ethic most people can't touch. I have a sense of risk that I can manage and take things on because I'm like, well, I've had worse in life. So I'm able to press through into spots of life that allow me to experience life greater than most people, but it's because of how bad the experience was to begin with.
Yeah, and that's a powerful thing, to be able to come through something like that and not have an outward anger or edge, to have joy in that or to recognize the good in it. And I've talked about this a lot on my show, is this whole idea that our greatest struggles in life were when we're in the middle of that muck, we're kind of down in it and we want nothing for it but for it to end. Often in hindsight, we go, oh, that was the thing that made the
Gave
difference, right?
hope.
Like I wouldn't trade it. I don't want it. I wouldn't give it up. And yet
Yeah,
when we're in it and we want it to end, knowing that in hindsight, we're a lot likely going to be thankful for it. Why do we want it to end? Right. And yet it's sort of the
yeah,
human condition, right? But it's having that awareness of saying, I'm being shaped right now. Like, how is
yeah.
this going to help me? But man, it's easy to say and hard to do.
It is. There's a dance between the body and the brain that I think most people don't understand the connection to it. You've heard of people nowadays. Everybody does ice baths. Let's go ice bath,
Mm,
right?
I
And
love it,
there's
man. I talk about it a lot.
we have an ice bath here. We do it. I originally do it for it to be hard, and I didn't understand the reason behind it until I talked to my agent, my former NFL athlete agent. He, good dude, he does it too. And I go, why do you do it? He goes, because I wanted to make my body submit to my mind.
Mm,
Hold on, explain this to me more. He goes, well, if I listen to the body, which it's not just the cold, right? It's the emotional distress of some situation. It's the hardship of whatever. The body's going, I don't like this. This is hard. And he says the body can tell the mind it's hard and not do it. The mind is just there at the whim of the body, and the body is weak. He says, so I need to have my body be able to submit to the mind. So the mind says, we're doing this. The body goes, I don't want to. The mind says, I don't care.
mm,
And so when you're able to do that and you realize the benefits, that's why in the moment of these things, we don't like them, but the body doesn't like it. The mind understands. The
mm,
mind knows the benefits. So the mind says, we're going to do it because it'll make us better. So that's why we, in the middle of things, we're like, I don't want to do this. And they try to find a bunch of ways to avoid. It essentially is your body leaning in and taking control, and your mind being the one that's the lagging.
mm. Yeah, and I get that same. I love the way he said that, way you rephrased it. The idea of, well, you need to listen to your body. Like, people say that I'm an endurance athlete, right? I like to run and do long distance things, and just got to listen to your body. You got to pay attention, listen to your body. I'm like, man, if I listen to my body, I wouldn't do any of this stuff. Like, my
Amen.
body's
Yeah.
constantly complaining to me and telling me you're risking this. Like, the legs are complaining, the lungs are complaining, everything's complaining. Like, we're about to hurt ourselves. We need to stop.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I start listening when my body stops talking to me. Like, when it stops asking for help, then I'm like, okay, I'm probably getting into a place now where, I need to pay attention to something. But listening to the body is a terrible idea, I think.
If you're in a race against other people, the bodies all say the same thing. So if I listen to the body, I'm average. It's those who push beyond it and test their limits that find out how much more they can actually absorb. And then you start realizing that the body has levels to it that it's unaware of because it hasn't stretched into certain ones. So what
Right.
your body right now goes, man, it's a 10. When you push to a certain point, you go, oh, that was a 5.
Yeah.
But I go past like that. That's a 5, and it's eventually it's a 2 because I keep pressing the limits. That's how you become a dominant athlete, phenomenal in your marriage, great in your business. It's all the same stuff. It's how can you elevate? I call it identity to where your identity goes. This is not as hard as it was 5 years ago. It's the same thing, but I can do it every day without stress. Whereas before, I used to hate the idea of doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's that idea of pushing into that difficulty and then attempting to go kind of one step further and just seeing,
And
like, what is that? What is that envelope at? Like, where do I find the edges of it? And then how
yeah,
do I see what happens if I go a little further? Right? That's how you do anything of any distance. I remember when I first started running, I hated it. It was my sport's punishment, right? It's like,
yeah,
if you just keep screwing up, we're going to make you run more. And then it became this thing that I enjoyed. And the thought of doing a 10K was one thing, and then a half marathon, and then a marathon. And it was always this idea of, how do you, like, I couldn't do the next thing until you do that thing, and then you sort of set your sights on the next thing, and
yeah.
it's that expansion, right? And well said on it. It applies to business. It applies to marriage. How do we continue to
Mhm.
get better as we press into
Oh,
the difficulty? Yeah,
yeah.
the shift.
Oh,
Talk a bit about so the foster care thing. And I know in you've been on a lot of podcasts, and your podcast host yourself. You've talked about this. I mean, sort of said it quickly. You did, your foster parents are pretty horrible. Like, some of the ones you had. I don't know if they
yeah.
weren't
First
all.
5. No,
They're-
no, no. The last ones were good. Well, the first one was not so bad. The middle 4 sucked. The last one were good.
Yeah.
Like it was, those faster homes, I was putting shopping carts and push down hills towards moving traffic, and thankfully never got hit by a car. But they put me in, and every time I'd fall out screaming and crying, I'd have to be forced to do it again. They would make me go in a chicken coop, like a chicken wire fence, and chase chickens. And if I caught a chicken, I got to eat. If If I didn't, I didn't get to eat. And if I snuck out of bed in the middle of the night, I'd get beat for stealing food. Then one family like made me lick the bottom of people's shoes till like my tongue was bleeding. I remember it was just like heinous stuff.
Insane. Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, and it's torturous and it's demented and it's like this weird thing. And earlier you alluded to it's good that you came through and you have this bright light. I was not bright and happy like in the beginning. It was
Right.
a lot of years where I was just pissed at the world. I mean, I was very unhappy. I was very like I wanted my revenge, and I hated my mom and I felt like I didn't matter. And like you feel alone in a world of billions of people. And so that, to be honest, was like the starting out point. But yeah, they were not the best people. But my last home, my good family, which is my current family, it was a different experience. Like my mom, you could tell, loved me from the get go.
Mm.
She put up with the craziness that was me because I was just a maniac, but loved me past the crazy. We were really poor, didn't have very much. I was the only black person in an all white family, so the dynamics for me were all over the place. But within that place, I finally found home.
Right on. And you, how old were you when you were adopted?
I was 14 when I finally got adopted, so I was in the system for 11 years.
And the family, your last foster family, ended up adopting you, the one you
Yeah.
just said that loved you.
Yep, I was there
Yeah.
from 6 till 14 before I was actually adopted, and then from 14
Oh
on,
wow. So,
yeah, I got a
so
life.
6 to 14, you don't really know, are you staying with this family or
Oh,
not?
no clue. No, because every day with the foster care world, what happens is you just show up like from school, you come home, all your clothes in a black trash bag. They put it in a car and take it to some new strange house. I don't even know to this day why you would
Yeah.
get either maybe the family didn't like you or just timing, and I don't know, but they move you around a lot. And so yeah, I found myself in 6 different homes over time. And yeah, you have no idea. You just come home and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I got a new family I'm going to, and you have no idea if it's better or worse. So for well, actually 8 years in that family, every day sucked. And in fact, here's a weird thing. When life got better, like my dad got a better job, so we moved to a new area, a new house. Like it would get better. I would actually try to avoid experiencing the goodness because it could have been taken away.
Mm,
And so it was a weird dynamic of like for a lot of years of my life until recently, I've been afraid of when things get really good, of the fear of losing them.
sure.
And so I think it does take my heart back to those foster care years. And my wife and I, we have a ridiculously strong and amazing marriage. I got happy kids. Like I have the ability to give back. Like I have a really abundantly happy, joy-filled life right now. And for a lot of years, it scared me. Like it really scared me. It wasn't probably to the last 2, 3 years. I just kind of melted into it and I go, it's okay to actually have this good stuff be part of your life. Because for the last 36 years, 38 years of my life, that was not the reality. And so I'm settling into a joy now that I feel like just it's cool because I get to share with people as well.
Yeah, I would think what you just described would be so expected, right? I mean, you've had the rug kind of jerked out from under you every time when you're a kid, right? You're kept showing them. I can't imagine as a kid who's, I remember going to schools or new schools and being nervous, but knowing that you have a family to come home to that's going to love on you, and that's solid, right? And so the idea of
Yeah.
coming home from school and whatever happened during the school day, and then all your gears in a trash bag, and you're about to go to a strange home as a young
Yeah.
kid, how unsettling that would be. And so the whole idea that you're always waiting for that shoe to drop would be, I mean, expected,
Tough.
I think. Yeah,
That's the
natural.
reality. Super sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, what you do.
But it makes you tougher, right? I mean, I suppose it's, and again, I don't want to be, flippant or trite that's, oh, it's good. It's made you tougher. It's like, no, it sucked. It maybe the positivity to pull out of it is that it made you resilient, but
Mhm.
unbelievable. So, okay, so as you're adopted at 14, you're now basically like a young high schooler, maybe a eighth, ninth grader, and you just
Yeah, eighth grade.
to start this thing like I'm going to make the football team, and you weren't a player, right? You were like a skinny kid,
Yeah.
it's kind of scrawny, and they're like, what? And so you just start working out and trying to get some ball skills, some hand skills, and talk about that, about setting that first goal, because this was sort of a new identity. This is going back to your identity shift thing of the idea of now I'm going to become a football player, even though you had
Yep.
no reason to think you could be a football player.
No, I mean that's kind of the nature of it. Is most of us start these things without feeling good, and I did. I tried football for a couple of years, wasn't good at it. I was actually my eighth grade year was the first attempt. I was horrible. I think we all try things in life that we have this, like excitement around. It'll be
Mhm.
amazing, right? And you do it and you go, oh, wait, I suck at this.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't a good feeling. So my first year of doing it, that's how I felt. And it was interesting because most of the time, when you try something and you're not good, you have an emotional pain of like, ah, I suck. Football adds a physical pain as well on it, because you're running around and hitting each other and getting hit for the most part.
Yeah.
So I tried that for 1 year. Then I go, it's not the greatest. And I tried the second year, my freshman year of high school, and I had a little bit better like skill sets, but I found myself, 3 games in, just getting, made fun of by my teammates, dropping footballs like I wasn't good. And it really just, it ate at me. And it was kind of this moment in time where I really just, I got fed up, I think is the way to think of it. I just got tired of feeling the way that I did. I didn't know why I felt the way I did. I hadn't had a full, understanding. I'm 14 years old at the time. I think 15 when I got to high school. But for the most part, you're just running through life, just trying to figure it out. And I got tired of it. And I had this one thought of like, I don't like how this feels. If I do nothing, it continues. But
Mm.
if I do something, it might get less painful. And that was like the catalyst to a whole new life.
Yeah. And so you showed up like after a year had gone by of this or over a summer and you had transformed a bit, right? And they're like, whoa, who's this guy? Right. All of a sudden you got some build and you got some speed and you got some skills. And it's like, whoa, this is like a different person, right? Your teammates kind of recognize this, the coaching staff.
That's
And,
pretty
and
much it. Yeah.
yeah. And so then you start progressing. And so are you at that point, are you like a junior or
So
junior
it
year or
was my
something?
sophomore year, actually. So I'd spent this whole off season just beating myself up. And the thing is, when you first start doing things that make you better in any place, any way, you have two voices that really just they tear away at you. The first voice is your own, going, "What are you doing? This
Uh,
isn't who you are. Like, why do you think you can be great at this? Why are you even given the time? Why are you enduring the pain?" The other voice is all the people outside of you who are making fun of you for trying to be better. It
mm,
sounds so weird to say it like that. But whenever you start doing things different than you have been doing, there is a collection of humans who will point it out because it's different and they'll make fun of it. It's not always malicious, but it hurts just the same. And so you're having to battle people going, it's not who you are to do that. You're slow, you're weak. Why are you running routes trucks? Why are you in the weight room, skinny boy? So you have that. And then at the same time, I go, yeah, why am I doing this? But there's this weird voice of opportunity in the background that if you listen to it, it keeps the machine moving. And so for me, I had this thought of like, if I keep doing this as an opportunity, there's a small chance I could be better and not feel as horrible when I play this game. Let's just start doing that stuff. And so I started doing things. And what's interesting is over time, the two voices, not only do they get quieter, but they change. So at first, like it's like the first month of doing stuff. What are you doing? You suck. Get off the field. Slow guy. What are you doing? You can't catch a football. You suck, right? 2 months of it's like, hey, Trucksman, why are you still out there working out? Hey, look at you. You're still skinny and slow, man. It's like only been 8 weeks, so obviously, right? Third month in, hey, you're still doing this. Give up, right? The fourth month, this guy's still doing this. He's crazy, right? The fifth month, I see you, Trucks. By month 6, hey, can I get a workout with you? Like that's the external voice. And they watch, and eventually you now have retrained them on how you function.
yeah.
But then the other voice inside also is there and it's going, hey, what are you doing, man? You look stupid. You're going to keep looking stupid? Why? This is dumb. You're not getting any faster. You're not getting any stronger. Like you're still skinny, right? Hey, why are you catching a football? It's not working out. And then eventually you have like that one catch, like, oh, okay, I feel a little better, right? You do it again. You go, oh, I feel a little better. Oh, I can press 10 more pounds. You look in the mirror. Okay, Ant, 10 more pounds. All right, good job, bud. And you keep pressing. Eventually it's like, I'm a dog. Like I'm different.
Yeah.
Because what I tell people is when I got to the football field my sophomore year, there was a mentality in me that was different. It was, I've done too much work in the dark to lose in the light. There's a different guttural sense of like what was mine already. It's like this dog in me that wanted to go, it wanted what it wanted because I already fed that dog every day. So the dog was there because I fed it. It stayed alive and it grew. And what it was essentially was this mentality of, I've done too many things that I sacrificed for. It were painful, it were difficult. I've pushed through too many barriers for this moment right now to not be successful within this moment. It's a
Yeah.
feeling that all human beings want. We want that in that defining moment. We need that animal, but we haven't fed it. So it's not alive in us. But when you've given every day and the energy to it, you don't have this language of imposter syndrome. I've
Mm,
never known the word of imposter syndrome to pop into the head of, I don't know, Serena Williams, a Michael Jordan, a Kobe
mm,
Bryant, right? A Lance Armstrong when he was doing his thing. It wasn't part of the way they functioned because what happened is they trained at a level in the dark that was so hard and so rigorous and so consistent that when it came to game day, It wasn't, can I do this? It was, let me loose.
Yeah.
You, you're in trouble. And
Yeah.
when you get that in you, the world becomes a rug you get to walk through damn near.
Yeah. That's powerful, man. And I absolutely love it. I've got imposter syndrome written on my paper here because I want to talk to you about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
But what you said there, I love what you talk about the doing the work in the dark. And like I put in too much work in the dark to give it up in the light or to give it to you in the light. I
I
love
lose
that,
it.
the sense of that, right? Um, there's a lot of power there. And it is about the reps, right? Putting in the reps so that you create that confidence, that muscle memory. And
Mhm.
it's also that willingness to be bad, right? It's willingness to be bad until you can be good. And
Yeah.
it's that determination that says I'm going to keep you might think I'm, and maybe I do suck right now, but watch, just it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
But we
Mhm.
have to what the other thing that struck me when you said that about the voices, how similar the external voices are from friends and family and or even, competitors that are saying, why are you bothering? This is stupid. And that inner voice that's saying, why are you bothering? This is stupid. And yet having the audacity to not listen to either one when you got two
Yeah.
saying the same thing, right? Your own inner voice is mirroring what your mom is saying or whatever.
Yeah.
This is foolish. And a lot of times that voice from friends and family is coming from a place of call it, they don't want to see you get hurt, right? They don't want to see you
No,
be
I call it
disappointed
that. Yeah.
or
Want to save
they
your
are
feelings.
or 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 they are wanting to make themselves feel better because they didn't accomplish something.
That part of it too. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people don't want their, I guess it's sad to say their kids or their lineage to be better than them, which they'll never say it, but it functions that way. But then also like I see part of it as like we as human beings show up in ways we're supposed to be doing different things. But then when it comes to the moment of doing a different thing, we don't do the different thing. So yeah, people make fun of us. They want to save our feelings, but I don't need to save your feelings. I need you to have stronger feelings. Like I got a 14-year-old son, I got a son that's 19. Like they're being built different. I have to train them differently. And part of my wife goes, why are you being so mean to the kids? I go, I'm not being mean. When I'm being difficult, I'm being consistent. I'm setting a line. But here's the truth of it: if I'm gonna, placate them and just, be okay, it's okay. Like play to their feelings. What happens is when they leave our home and life walks through the door, which it will,
Mm,
because life is hard,
mm,
I will have ill prepared my boys to be great men. And so it's like whenever somebody goes like, oh, you gotta do that, it's okay. It's like, yeah, that it is okay. It would be the easier way, but I need the muscle that this is gonna build, not now, but 10 years from now. Like
mm,
my son right now is up in college. He's doing his track, running track at University of Oregon, doing a good job. I go, man, you're in college. Like you may not even do anything your degrees around, but I'm telling you right now, this window of time you're going through, because he's been battling some stuff between school and sports all at the same time. It's heavy. It's just hard work. And I go, he called me one day. He goes, Dad, how to make it easier? I go, son, you don't. You do
mm,
not make it easier. When you go to the weight room, do you ask the coach to make it easier? No, I say you lift. So lift the weight of this life right now. You got to find a way to every day get up, take a deep breath, and just go hour by hour sometimes, but get through it. And when you do it, the backside, and you get a chance to have like a pause and you regain your energy, you'll look at it and go, I understand why. Because what you're doing now, you don't need for now. You need this for when you graduate. You need this for 10 years from now. But if you remove yourself from this difficulty now, you are pretty much saying, I don't want the success coming to me 10 years from now.
Pardon the interruption, everyone. Do you ever feel like you're out of alignment with your true gifts, your passion, and your purpose for being on this earth? Do you feel like you're grinding it out each week with the appearance of success and still asking, is this it? If so, I get it. I've been right where you're at. And once I figured it out for myself, it's why I started coaching. Now I help my clients get back into alignment with their authentic self. I help them find meaning, purpose, joy, and energy in each day. Check out my website at ericsardina.com to learn more and to schedule a free 15-minute strategy session. And now, back to the show. Yeah, that's powerful, dude. Let's talk about now. So as you start to then step into this new identity, now you're a ball player, you're playing ball, you're
Yeah.
excelling. Obviously, you're excelling to the point where you're getting looks from um, big schools, University of Oregon. Now is a major program, right? Contended for a national championship, couple for several years, and certainly it's been on the national stage now for a while. Were they at the time? I assume they were when you were coming through recruiting when they were recruiting you, or What was that like? You got
They were.
multiple schools kind of coming after you.
I did, man. I got all of a sudden a whole bunch of people wanted me to be on their team. I was like, oh, this is cool. It's kind of a good feeling to have as a guy that
Yeah.
wasn't wanted by many people, even his own mom. But yeah, I got a whole bunch of opportunities. Ended up going to University of Oregon. It's the recruiting process is weird, and also my family, like none of them are athletes. They know nothing about the world. So here I am, this kid that my parents like weren't even into sports, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I'm this guy like has an opportunity to go to college on a football scholarship at Division 1 level. So it was pretty interesting to watch and go through the journey of it. But yeah, for me, I was kind of just taking the next step as whatever it was, and that seemed to be it. And it happened because I just leaned into the same things I've been doing. I just worked real hard. And the more I worked, the more I didn't want to look bad because I'd worked too hard for it. And
Yeah.
that turned into a different guy who, yeah, was able to step into a space statistically no foster kid should be in, to be quite honest.
Yeah. Do you know what the statistics are on someone that's come through foster system making a Division 1 athlete? I mean, that's just
Oh,
popped into my head,
yes.
but
Well, let's look at it this way. If you look at any prison in America, 75% of the inmates have spent time in foster care. So you've got that. If you look at the homeless population, half the homeless population have spent time in foster care. Because when we get to 18, we don't get a paycheck for us. The families kick us out. It's called aging out of the system. And then you have a lot of people that essentially, like, well, I think 1% of us will graduate from college. So you're talking the numbers are slim. That's just going to school.
yeah.
You add football to the mix, even harder. You add the NFL to the mix, even slimmer, right? So
Yeah.
the statistics for us again, they're pretty bad. I think I didn't know them back then, which was good because it didn't feed into my thoughts. And I honestly didn't know other foster kids. Like there wasn't this community of us hanging out. Like there's some communities now that are pretty awesome. But back then I was like off on my own, just doing whatever I was supposed to do. And yeah, it was a weird dynamic of my life, man, because it's before technology and everything to even know these things. But when I found out later, I'm like, I wonder if had I known those details, would I have bought into them and played small? I don't know the answer to that, to be honest.
Mm. Do you know of any other NFLer? Did you ever meet an NFLer that had been through the foster care system?
Yeah, well, not when I was playing. I didn't meet any, but I know there's some guys. Like, there's a whole movie on the blind side. There's a guy that actually, there's a whole story. I guess lots coming to light now of what was different from what you thought it was. There's another
Right.
guy.
Oh, that's right. 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 Yep. I remember. Yep.
Yeah. I think Dre Greenlaw, who's a linebacker for the Niners, also spent time in foster care. They had different situations, I think, which is cool because they were like families who they spent some time with that over time was just like, just stay with us, right? For
Yeah.
me, I was legit shipped around. Like I was bounced around from house to house. I don't know how many of us experienced that and have made it to the NFL. I wish I had a number. I couldn't tell you anybody else that I can think of off the top of my head.
Wow. Um, okay. So let's jump into sort of college and then kind of progress through that. So you make the team and you're obviously you're not just making the roster and hanging out. You're a scholarship athlete and you're progressing to the point where the NFL is giving you a look as you start to matriculate your way through college. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so what's happening there as you start to get to, is your dream at this point, like I'm going to the NFL, or are you thinking I'm getting
No,
my degree and I'm going to go to work, or what's your thoughts as you're kind of moving your way through
always
college?
been, I've always been the guy that's like, what's the next thing to do? That was always it. It was never, I didn't think 5 steps ahead. I think some kids did grow up wanting to play in the NFL. It was never a
Yeah.
dream of mine until like my sophomore, junior year of college, mostly my junior year of college, to be quite honest. But it was never a thought. It was just kind of, I'm doing my thing and just, it was practice today. And it was the game next week. That was it. And I had a kid my sophomore year. So I'm a dad. And then what started happening is now all of a sudden I'm starting to like do really well in college because I got there my freshman year. I played. And then my true sophomore year, I started against like over a 5th-year senior, which is actually unheard of. It doesn't happen. When a guy's been there in 5 years,
Yeah.
that's his job. But I took it. Like I wanted it. And it just was a way that I did the same dark work. And I came out and I fought for a job and I earned it. And so after I think my junior year, when my coach kind of laid it down, he goes, hey, look, if you're at this Division 1 level, the goal's the NFL. Now, obviously, some people have a better shot at it, but he's like, if you are just one to play like it's high school, go D1 or sorry, go D2, go D3, play JUCO. He's like, but people that are playing at the Division 1 level, there's a lot more asked of you than you comprehend. A lot more on the line. There's a lot more money involved in the game of it all. Like it's big time. You can see nowadays everything, transferring and moving to the NIL stuff, the
Yep.
transfer portal. Like it's becoming less amateur, we'll call it. But he's
Yep.
like that. If you're at this level, that's the goal. And so at that point, I was like, oh wow, maybe that should be my next goal. Play in the NFL. Had never thought of it being a possibility. And then I started putting good numbers up. started getting good looks. I get invited to the NFL Combine. It's like it became a reality in a weird way. But I think that was just me kind of following the same tick I always do. Like, well, all right, what's next up on the docket?
Yeah. And so you show up at the combine. Are you? I'm getting this picture like you're almost somewhat unprepared. Like I'm just sort of getting awareness of things as I
Well,
step into them. Is that?
yeah. Yeah, to an extent. Preparation body wise, no, I was always training and preparing, so I was good there. But in terms of preparation from a standpoint of like understanding what was coming up,
Yeah.
some guys are looking at, a couple years away. I'm like, all right, college is done. What do I do now? Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
combine's come up in 3 weeks. Let me get an agent. Like so
Right.
there were things kind of trickling in. But for the most part, yeah, no, it wasn't like this full pre-plan. So I would actually get to teams and I didn't know who the coaches were. I didn't know who the players were. Like there was a lot that I was unaware of purely because I wasn't really paying attention to the
Mm.
NFL world. I don't think it hindered or hurt me at all because I was still focused on playing football at the collegiate level. But yeah, I definitely was not prepared for what the NFL was about to like throw at me, the gauntlet of life and the craziness and the high stakes, all that stuff. It's a tear, man. It's a cutthroat, crazy environment.
What was it? Share more about that if you could. Like what did you start to experience or see at the NFL level once you got to that point?
Well, it's all meant for themselves. Like nobody cares. Nobody cares about you. It's not like college. Like you're gonna be there for 4 years. You might be there for 4 hours. Like there's no guarantee, dude. It's grown men who have been there for some 10 plus years. And when you come in, you're not coming in to make a team. You're coming in to remove somebody else's ability to feed their family.
Mm.
Best way to look at it. There were 53 last year. You want one of those spots. Somebody's not eating. And so it's just the nature of going in and you're fighting for a job. And every day there's guys that like they're your teammates, right? But it ain't like you see like all chummy.
Yeah.
It's like my teammate, but I need to make you look bad so you go home. And so
Yeah.
it's just a weird dance of in practice we get that. So we go hard, but then I'll go have a meal with you and hang out like we're friends. It's actually what it is. But it's this weird ability to switch it on and not care about a single person but you in the moments. And it's not saying you're selfish, but if I do well, my team does well. And then when you've made a team, you get to that level now, it's like, all right, these are my teammates. But before that, dude, it's just cutthroat. Guys lie to you about certain stuff. Like no one goes out of their way to help you. If you
Mm.
don't say the playbook, someone will lie to you about the play just to make you look bad so they get a better look, right? It's how it works. It's crazy, dude. But
Wow.
that's why guys come out hardened and capable of so much more because when you take what I emotionally experienced in that window of time and you flip it to this world, it's a cakewalk. Like
Mm.
I can handle this. Like
Right.
it's like it's just work. You mean I just gotta like sit on a computer and type away or hop on a stage and talk and no one's coming to steal my job or physically hit me or like send me home. Like I could do this all day.
All
So
right.
it's a different level of ability. But I will say this, it doesn't transfer automatically. You got to work at it. You have to understand where to flex certain muscles that you developed over the years and where they come and show up in the like real world. It took me a good 5, 6 years to figure it out. Like when I got out of the football, dude, I hurt my shoulder, my career ended. I came home and I didn't know who I was without football. It's a
Yeah.
complete like it's an identity just crisis. Like who am I? I don't know. So you go through this journey of navigating it and figuring out where to put yourself in positions to be challenged to then have to, step up to the plate. And when you do, you start finding like, oh, I've felt this way before, or I know how to handle hard interactions, or I know how to take hard feedback to improve, not just take it and go, I suck, but go, okay, that sucked. Let me make it better. So those little things started showing up. And the more I could, kind of ooze in the sports, I guess, mentality, the dark work mentality into my work, it skyrocketed. And toward now, I'm not saying success is easy by any means. It takes work, but at the same time, it doesn't take as much like emotional and willpower energy for me than it does for other people. It's I call effortless effort. Same amount of effort. Let's say it's 5 pounds. For somebody, 5 pounds they can't curl. For me, I could curl 1,000 times, right? The same weight, same
Mm.
problem, but I'm just stronger in certain areas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you get hurt in the NFL, you hurt your shoulder, and you kind of describe it as, one day I've got this dream. I'm going to be a NFLer. I got to make all this money and whatnot, and then
Yep.
boom, it's over. Don't even play an
Yep.
NFL down in a
No.
regular season, right? And so here you are out, and you're like, well, I guess I'll be a coach, a personal coach. I'll go to a gym, and
Yep.
and then it's like, man, I can't work not enough hours in the day to make this money and take care of my kid, my son, and my spouse, And so I need to be a business owner, I guess. So you kind of
Yep.
jump into the gym business and now you're trying to run that and you're working 30 hours, cramming it into a 24-hour day. And
Yeah.
everything's stressed, right? So your
All
marriage is
day.
stressed, you're not
Yeah.
around, everything is being given to the business and the business is still failing.
Yeah.
And so talk a bit about that, about what that's in the I'm trying to find myself thing and you're trying to find
Yeah.
that identity.
It's all
And
over the
so,
place, man.
yeah.
it's a it's a tornado and a half, bro. It is crazy. Because it is. I in my third season in the NFL, I tear my shoulder. I'm done. And I don't know it's the end of my career yet, but it ends up being over time. And I come home to find something that's gonna, give me a sense of self. My degree's in kinesiology. So I go, let me go into sports training, fitness training. And I tried my hand at a gym. I was like, I can't have a boss. I'm not built for that anymore. I'm not listening to, Joel over here telling me what to do. Like, I'm good, buddy. So I built my own thing out. And as I build my own thing out, I start realizing how hard it is. 9 months in, I'm looking at bankruptcy. Like, it's not panning out well because I don't have any insights. And so, yeah, with that going on, I'm at the gym every day from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. My wife's at home with our 4-year-old newborn twins. And it's just chaos. I'm trying to pay the bills. I'm not making any money. I'm working all day. Imagine I'm working all day long, not making money, but have bills to pay. So
Mm.
it's like I would have been better off at home not making money.
Right. Right.
So navigating this stuff, my marriage falls apart. I'm not happy. I'm living in a 500 square foot studio apartment. Like it just all hell breaks loose, dude. And it was my crucible, my man. It was one of these things where you had to go through it, and I had to be in the darkness of it because it at some point eventually forced me to go, I don't want to be here. I got to get out of here. Let me start fixing things. And here's what the biggest directional shift for me was that I was a common denominator in all of my problems. I
Mm.
didn't like to admit it at first, but when you can actually go, you're the common denominator. Either you've created this problem or you're allowing it to persist at that moment in time. Now it's like, all right, cool, I get that. Now what can I do? And it takes a lot of ownership. It takes a lot of ego, like just death, to be honest. And then you give yourself permission to improve. And for a lot of it was me getting like outside guidance, coaching, like I had when I played sports. I had to have a coach. So I got a coach
Yeah.
and just started doing things that were super uncomfortable, but they were leading in the right direction. The more you do them, better things get. And over time and momentum, you skyrocket beyond that place you were at.
Yeah. What did you find when you say you were the common denominator? What types of behaviors, what things were you doing that kept coming up that needed to be uprooted, that were the common problem, if there was such a thing that you found, the common things you were doing wrong?
I think part of it was the ego. I think we all have these egos that just
Mm.
they go, oh, I'm good, I'm great, or you'll say I'm not perfect, but the moment any perfection arises, you like to fight it. No one wants to have a chink in the armor.
Mm.
So for me, the outside blame was it's my ex-wife. She was the one that was the problem. She didn't support all those kind of things. And then you realize, like, well, actually, I wasn't doing much to be there. She's at home with these kids all day long. I'm at the house at this work, and I'm supposed to be working, but paying bills, and I'm not even paying bills. So he's just gone as far as she's concerned, right?
Yeah.
I go, okay. Then my gym business wasn't doing very well. Like, and I'm, with it not doing well, I'm making money. It's like, well, it's the marketplace, and these, people suck. They don't get it. And I go, no, no, I'm not communicating the value. It's not up to me to judge them. I have to figure out how to be great so that they want to come here. Like little nuance, like I was, not working out because I was focused in the gym. Well, it's because I'm focused in the gym. I got to make this thing. There's no time to work out. Dumb excuse, right? Or wasn't present as a father. I can't make it to baseball. I gotta train this client from this time to this time so they can pay me so I can make money for our family. Yeah. You can make all the excuses in the world, but I go, no, all these things are just really good excuses to not accept the fact that I wasn't doing the right things in these areas to get great at them, to be better than I should be. And so the more that I could step in and go, okay, I need to be able to communicate with other people uh, better in a sense of what my value is. And it's on me to do that. That's one part for the business. I got to learn how to be able to be present with my family and be there more often, which means I got to be better at work. I got to be better as a husband. I got to be better in my own body. I can't sit here and be at the gym going, hey, get in shape, but then I'm over here eating trash. It's just, it was an incongruence. And so for me, a lot of it was just letting the ego die so I could step in and go, hey, Anthony, you really need to work on these things and then do them uncomfortably, like really uncomfortably. Do these things that didn't feel like me to do it. It didn't feel like Anthony Trucks because I'd never done it. But the person who had what I wanted, they did these things every
What
day.
were some of those things that pop out to you? You remember?
Some, yeah, some were like hard conversations, like with people in a sense of at my business. being able to have a hard conversation with a staff member and go, look, you're not doing a good enough job because I want everybody to like me, right? I want to
Mm,
have fun in the place, but it doesn't work that way. Getting rid of people who weren't a good fit, firing clients that weren't a good fit, asking my full, like what I believe I was valued, because sometimes I just wanted any money. So I would take any, whatever you want. Yeah, whatever. And then I go, no, I'm worth this much. I got to ask for this much and then fight to get that much and then show up and deliver on that. When I was divorced, like owning my part of the marriage, owning where I wasn't the best husband and father, I wasn't present, I didn't listen. That's the hardest thing I think for me out of all of it was because that was like the closest part to the heart.
mm,
And so what happens is when you own that there's things you didn't do perfectly, you have to own that you are partly at fault for your pain.
mm.
It's not an easy one
Yep.
because you're pretty much going, I hurt and I don't want to hurt. And the reason I hurt is because of that person. And you go, no, 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 it's a marriage. There's two people in that. And no matter what took place at a certain point in time, it took two people to get to a point for that to happen. So I go, all right, I get the understanding. And that sucks because that means it's partly me. So it doubly sucks. So it's like those were the things that I accept. And then, okay, I go, all right, I feel this way. Now what do I do to not feel like this? And you can't sit there and do nothing to change your emotion. I think motion changes emotion, action. And most of us, when you have the weight of this pain on you, the last thing we want to do is act or move or do anything. It's when you want to sit there and eat ice cream in front of a
Mm,
TV week and talk to nobody. That's the moment in time of all moments. It's most critical for you to get up and move. So that's what I did in those moments. I got up and started doing things, cutting people off, adding people to my life, being transparently honest, making apologies where they were due, just like little uncomfortable, nuanced things that like really twisted my belly up. But the more I did them, the easier it got, the better my life got. And then now I'm like, shoot, I don't care. Yeah, I did all that stuff. Look at my life now, though.
right. Love it. I know you've said before that ego is everyone's greatest obstacle, right?
Mhm.
And I used to be the person that would say, well, I don't have an ego. I don't have an ego. And the reality is we all have ego and I have ego and ego. And then I started to kind of buy into this whole idea of like ego's bad. And I
No,
think the ego isn't bad.
not at all.
I think I think of my ego sort of as like my big brother that's like looking to protect
Hmm.
his little brother up. And he's always the one being like, no, 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 that's not your fault. Right. Or no, no, no. And so he comes from a good place. He comes from a place of good intention. It's just not
Yeah.
always,
Well, the way,
it's always well placed, not always well
yeah.
placed.
Well, what it does is that I believe the ego protects your current identity.
Mm,
You see yourself, whatever stands to threaten it, the ego will rear up and it'll protect. Here's a couple ways of good and bad. The ego will protect your identity of making you feel bad, like I did in my situation of like, well, it was all her. I was trying to work for the family, but it's like, no, I wasn't home. Right. That's just the reality. But like it wants to protect the part of me that doesn't want to feel bad. But then let's say as an athlete, my ego would go, I want to be one of the greatest football players. I want to be phenomenal at what I do.
yeah.
So the ego shows up and protects me by saying, hey, you better go to bed. Hey, you better get up early. You better eat that. You better not eat that. You better work out. You better take care of your body. So like your ego will show up and force you to do the things to protect the identity of the football player, even if they're not fun things, but it protects that part by taking actions. And so, yeah, we all have this kind of, it's like a protective armor of a ego that
Mm,
really is just there to protect the current identity. But here's the thing, what it's protecting isn't always the best. It wasn't the best part of me to protect in saying, oh, it's all her fault in the marriage, right? That's not the best part of my identity to protect. So at some point, I had to let the ego die in that area, recreate who I was, and then put that ego wall back up. So now I go, I'm a phenomenal husband. My ego will battle that. I show up, I'm supportive, I'm there, right? But my ego, in all aspects, it shows up in the actions. It's not what you think about it, it's what you do about it. So if I have this identity here, the ego will show up in the actions I take based on how the effect would be on my identity.
And how do you keep the ego from getting out of control? Because I see the ego as being something that you can feed, and man, that dog will
Yeah.
he'll eat and eat and eat more
Overeat.
than his fill, right?
Oh yeah.
And so especially like you start to have some, and I want to get into this before we run out of time, but you start to get into some massive success, right? And
Hmm.
how does that ego not then take you off into debauchery, right? Like, oh man, I am the man. I am the guy. I don't even have to work as hard as I did. My
Yeah.
family's good. I don't have to spend as much time there because I need to
I,
keep feeding, feeding
yeah.
this feel good, right?
I think it's a faith thing for me heavily. Like it's there's a part of me that goes, I'm here to do something, but I'll never know what it is. But I do know that when I get certain things done, it opens up opportunities to do more. So I keep doing it. I'm designed to work, and I love to work at things. I love creating, developing, talking, doing this with you right now. So I'm in that flow in that pocket. And so for me, the ego will show up and will have me do things. But I think also I'm the faith allows me to realize there is something bigger than me. So
Mm.
when my ego gets to a certain level, it's not saying like it's at a level where I go, I'm better than all you, minions down below. That's not what it is. It's like, no, I'm great. To be able to say I'm great and amazing without being, I guess, rude or demeaning to other people is kind of the big thing, to say it with grace. Like, I am amazing as a human. I'm an amazing husband. I'm an amazing father. I show up as an amazing friend. Like, I am. And I know that. But it doesn't
Yeah.
make you smaller. I mean, it's less than. And so the ego doesn't get to a point of saying I'm bigger than everybody else and cower in my shadow. It's not that, but it's because I realize I'm just a dude, man. like
Yeah.
I'm a guy on earth, I'm one of God's many children. And so the way I function is like, I'm gonna do amazing things, but my amazing thing is supposed to be for me and my world, for my people, for my friends, for my colleagues. That's what I'm supposed to be great at. It's not the part of me that goes, go pick my bags up and shine my shoes.
Mm.
That's a weird way to function to this day. I'm the guy that comes on an elevator. Someone has my name on a tag, and they're going to take me in the car to the hotel so I can speak that day. That's my whole driver service. I never let them carry my bags. I'm a grown man. Like, I'm a dad. I'm gonna carry my wife's bag and the kids' bags. Like, I appreciate you wanting to, but I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still just a regular human. And so in a sense, I've found that the ego, it doesn't benefit me when I let it become rooted, like, I guess, detrimental to other people's existence.
Yeah, man. I love that. I love the faith grounding, because that is ultimately, I'm a firm believer as well, follow Jesus Christ, and, believer that we are here to serve others. That is the call. We just went through Lent, we come to Easter, and that is the message, is surrender and then serve others. I've washed your feet, now wash others. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's so powerful. And that is the grounding, right? That is what keeps us from going off the rails, is that faith.
Yeah.
Um, I want to jump into a bit, because you talked about imposter syndrome earlier, and I want to jump a little forward in the story
Okay.
to you. You are now speaking. You speak in front of the biggest companies on the planet. You're speaking. I've seen you speak in. I think it was Candlestick, or whatever they call Candlestick these days, right? When
Yeah.
you.
Well, yeah. Now it's, what is it called? Oracle Park, I want to
I
say,
don't
for
know.
it's, yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I don't know. I don't know the corporate brand these days, but I know it used to be Candlestick, right? But yeah, out there on the big screen speaking, and certainly, all the big employers, you speak, and you're on some massive stages, right? So big clients, and then also big peers on those same stages, right? Other big names like yourself. And I can
Yeah.
easily, again, I'm a big fan. I've said that, but I'll be critical, right? So it's not like you had 4 Super Bowl rings, that you were, national, heavyweight champion of the world, or
Nope.
you've overcome massive odds, right? You've overcome extraordinary odds to get to a place of accomplishment.
Mhm.
It's not like you had 400 gyms, right? The gym went away, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And yet you're up there speaking your message with
Yeah.
power alongside some other dudes and ladies. Where does imposter syndrome, if it does show up,
It
where,
doesn't.
when did it ever?
Well,
Because
when I
good,
first
right? For
started,
normal, for normal, kind of quote normal, that's a normal place for imposter syndrome. It's like, dude, you don't
yeah.
have a right on the stage. You're not in the right
Yeah.
place.
Yeah. I had in the beginning, I was like, I'm not like this person. They got this much followership and they're huge like this. And I started realizing, well, none of them, not a soul has lived my life, right? At all. If I can extract from my life a beautiful lesson for the world and deliver in a powerful way, I can outdo these people. Here's a way to look at it. When I was a kid playing football in high school, even before high school, I wasn't a kid that had the silver spoon. I didn't have much. My first cleats were with the wrong size. I had to put like toe stickers in there to make my feet fit. I didn't have the gloves. I didn't have the nice helmet and jersey. Like, I had all the trashy stuff. But what I realized was, when we got in the football field, it didn't matter. If I ran faster than you, if I hit you harder, if I outworked you, you will have to bow down to my abilities. It's just the nature of it. And so I've taken that to the rest of the world. You're right. I haven't climbed 70 mountains, and I haven't built a multi-billion-dollar business, right? But I have lived an experience that you haven't. I know how to put that together in a very powerful speech that allows you to extract lessons from my story. It's not about Anthony, it's about the lessons from my story that benefit your people. And I go out there and I go, if I outwork you, I don't care what you've done in
Mm,
this arena. You could have the shiny stuff, all the crazy stuff, but if you can't outwork me, I will beat you. And that's
mm,
cool. It's not about me beating somebody. It's just in the world of what I do, it's like playing to my fullest potential. when I play to my personal, genuine, fullest potential, which I have in these areas, that's the success you see. It's not because I was competing against that guy for the speech. I was competing against me and making it clear why I'm the better fit because of the clarity of message, the extraction of lessons, how I can deliver them, my past success. Like it's always me versus me. And so when I just show up and go, forget everybody else, do the absolute best Anthony can, and I tap into that, everything else seems to flow.
Yeah, I love it. Um, what are you excited about right now, man? What does your sort of day to day look like,
Yeah.
and what are you excited about as you sort of look forward?
Season of dad, man. I love being a parent. I love watching my wife run her track stuff and setting, masters world records. My kids are doing sports. I get to go and travel and speak. And so I have a lot of free time when I'm not on the stage. I'm doing really well in that part of the business. I have no complaints. I get to serve other people. I have clients that just found out he's booked 11 speeches this year from the systems I've taught him for the just my systems given to him. So what I'm excited about is continuing to live this life the way it is, at the full tilt. Also launching a brand called Dark Work, more, I guess, expansively to the world. I'm looking for seriously, I can't wait to launch the logo out to the world and see the assessments that come and the apparel that comes and the coaching we do and the speeches with it. Like it's a whole entire monster. That's the excitement, but I'm not doing it for the moment of excitement on, a stage. I'm doing it because I want to be able to come home after a speech, sit with my wife and kids and go, hey, what do you want to do this weekend? And have anything on the docket financially, time wise, to cover those things and live life, man. That's what I'm excited for. It's just building a life that I get to fully live into.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. Again, following what you put on social media, I can see, or at least it appears that the speaking has just exploded. Do you have anything that you attribute sort of the massive success? Like if you look now this year
Yeah.
versus maybe just 12 months ago, compare the two, what's caused, it seems like there's been a big shift in the last 12 months,
Uh,
growth.
I think consistently, just consistency of terms of putting my stuff in the world. I market, I share, I talk. I'm consistently doing things. Most people, they don't get the success in the beginning, and so they start to venture off and do different things. I stay hard in the pocket. To be honest, that's what it is. I've stayed the course, and the more you do, you get an opportunity and you capitalize on it, and then you turn that one to more and more and more. So part of it is just the sheer resilience of pushing through when most people would stop. Other parts, really, really good systems. I don't rely upon my emotion to drive things. It's a very well designed and smooth operating system that runs the full business of my company. And so I lean on that. I make sure things get done. I take things in stride. And then when I do have an opportunity to show up, I'm going to serve you like you've never had a person speak before. I give everything to where everybody goes, this was the best guy to ever grace our stage.
Yeah.
The more you do that, the better it turns out.
Awesome, man. Where can people find you and keep up with your work?
Darkwork.com or anthonytrucks.com.
Got it. Perfect. I'll get those links in the show notes. Man,
Awesome.
It's been fantastic. I love the conversation. I could keep going, but I know you got busy things to get to, and I want to be respectful of your time. So thank you so much for giving me an hour, and it's been an awesome conversation.
Hey, the pleasure is all mine, man. Truly appreciate you.
Likewise. To our audience, thank you for taking time from your busy day to listen to the show. Always appreciate you do that. If you would write us a review, give us a rating, all those things help us reach a broader audience. Until next time, friends, I'm Eric Sardina. You've been listening to the Return to Authenticity podcast, and bye for now.